that I then read a better book about India called Vermilion Harvest,
Okay.
Playtime at the Bag. So,
Fine, you make me change things.
the author was going to send a voice note in for this one.
Hi, this is Rinita Hora, author of Vermilion Harvest, Playtime at the Bagh, a historical fiction love story set against the backdrop of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre that took place in Amritsar, Punjab, 1919. That's British India. It follows the story of Aruna, an Anglo-Indian schoolteacher who falls in love with Ayaz Pir Muhammad, a feisty Muslim law student who is also an activist and a partaker in the Home Rule movement. On April 13th, which was the day of the Vaisakhi festival, the spring festival in Punjab, a group of people were gathered in Jallianwala Bagh to celebrate, and also a small group, including Ayaz, were holding a meeting to discuss the idea of home rule. Now, General Dyer of Jalandhar swooped in unannounced and ordered his troops to shoot at sight. Hundreds of people scrambled trying to save their lives, but hundreds died according to the official figures, and according to unofficial figures, this could even have gone up to the thousands. This is the first portrayal of the event in a fictional sense. It's the first piece of historical fiction set against this very important event that essentially led to India's independence movement. And the subtitle, Playtime at the Bagh, is a metaphor and refers to Colonel Dyer's play on bullets that particular day. Season 5, Episode 1 of my podcast, The True Fiction Project, actually includes a dramatic reading of the massacre scene. So I do invite you to listen to that. And of course, I invite you to read the book and let me know what you think. I do hope that you will love it. Thank you so much.
It's by Renita M. Hora. And this one I really, really liked. It's new. And it's essentially telling a story. You give it a yeah. It's basically like, okay, let's tell a story about how the Brits were terrible. Which, they kind of were.
Wait, did you just thumbs down the Brits?
No.
Okay.
You know what?
So
I wasn't technically, but I was going to be prepared for the rest of the books today.
So basically, the story of this book is this girl who's our main character was the child of an Indian woman and a British soldier who raped her.
No way. It's almost like a sequel.
Oh no!
Her dad was called Flashman. So she's never met her father. The one good thing her father does is gives the mother like a house and some money, so at least they're not like broke, so they can live off that basically. But she's a school teacher, and she meets a Muslim guy, and I think she lives in a weird lifestyle because the book talks a lot about like Hindus and Muslims in India and the Brits. With her being half British, half Hindu, and dating a Muslim, she's kind of trying to like be in all the camps and not be on anyone's side or anything like that, The problem is her boyfriend, he really, really wants to kick the Brits out.
Okay.
And he keeps telling her, like, we're going to move to Bombay, we're going to have, like, a nice time together, but first, I'm just going to do, like, some peaceful protests, and then she's like, oh, no, you're in riots, and you're going to get arrested or killed. And he keeps kind of downplaying it or lying to her, like, it's not even going to be that bad. And then it's like, well, I saw, like, lots of people get stoned and, tortured and murdered and all this kind of stuff. So I do feel bad for, like, their love story, because it's clearly not going to work. And she's a friend who's a little bit less intelligent and very, very naive, and her boyfriend, or her husband, is also, a revolutionary. Playtime at the Bagh is a famous... I didn't know it myself, but it is a play about an incident where the Brits basically went into... it was during a festival, so it was a big gathering of Indians, and they just massacred men, women, and children for fun. Just shot them, just killed everyone.
Jeez.
And anyone that didn't die immediately, they just left them there to die and didn't give anyone assistance or anything either.
So it's a play, you say, based on a real story, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this book is then kind of telling a longer version of that. And it's fictionalized
So
to an extent as well.
Telling you the ending as well, basically.
So that's
great.
And the book doesn't shy away from like moral judgment. It's like, so this guy, Colonel Dyer, is Satan on Earth. Like, he's a bad person, and we're going to talk about that, you know? Turns out, though, that what he did was basically assume a command he shouldn't have had anyway. There was a guy called MacDonald who had taken over control, and it seemed like... I mean, he was still a Brit, right? But they were saying, like, okay, he's one of the better ones. He's actually not deliberately trying to, like, hurt us or do anything. And then Dyer comes in and just kicks him out and takes control. But they did a big investigation into it, and no one ever found any orders that he'd received to do that. It seems like he just decided, I'm just going to come in and just massacre people for fun, basically. And when the Brits put him on trial and everything, he didn't defend himself. He was like, yeah, of course I did. My job was to strike fear, and I did it. I would do it again, and you should do it too. Like, zero attempt at an apology or at regret. So that's really, really hard to read. But what's sad for our character is... It seems like everyone was coexisting more or less peacefully until the Brits start ramping up laws and putting like curfews in place and all this kind of stuff. You know, she loses her job. Then they start saying... The Indians start to see her as British then. So then they start like being racist back to her and everything. And she's done nothing wrong, but she's just, you know... So that's really sad for her. And then she's worried that like her boyfriend's going to get killed and all this kind of stuff's happening. She's lost her job. So most of the book is kind of her story, I guess. And then it ends like with obviously this kind of massacre and everything. I thought it was a really, really nice read, but I just wanted to do something that actually touched on India a bit more seriously, I think, after Flashman.
Yeah.
But yeah, it deals with some heavy stuff as well. But I think it was really cool to... Because I didn't know about that play or anything, I might read it sometime. I didn't know about that event at all.
Yeah.
The Brits were kind of bad, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a Ishbalin event, right? Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah. One of the things they even did was just like they banned processions and funerals and things. They knew like a big festival was coming up. On the day of the festival, they announced, okay, so no one's allowed to have a gathering, and then didn't tell anyone.
Of course.
And they're like, now we can kill them all or arrest them all. It's like, well, they didn't even know they're doing their festival. But what's really good though is there's not that much issue with like Hindus and Muslims in the book. It tends to be they're on the same side against the Brits.
Yeah.
You know, and she wants to be with a Muslim guy, and it's trying... Obviously, her mum is like, you shouldn't date a Muslim guy, and she's like, that's the least of my concerns, actually.
Yeah.
So they try to kind of...
Is this pre-partition as well?
Yeah. So they try to show that, like, actually, before... And this is what... I don't know how true it is, but, like, Indian people have told me before, people existed more or less peacefully until the Brits came and messed everything up. You know?
That's usually the case in most of the countries.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So that's that. That one's a little bit more serious, a little bit deeper, but is the book of the month. It's the one book this month that I was like, this is a good book. Like, a good piece of literature, a good story, and it hit me emotionally, and wasn't nonsense and silly.
Book of the year, even, maybe.
But it's early in the year, so potentially, yeah. Because I don't
yeah.
think there's been anything else that's been like a massive standout. One of you go, or shall I do one more? What do you think?